There we go.
Oh,
All right. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. I am Darnice Bragg, founder of this wonderful organization, Walking Them Shoes. Walking Them Shoes is an empowerment firm designed to help uplift and empower the women, the ladies. And thank you so much on today for joining us. We here at Sisters Circle Social Club is featuring our lovely guest, Ebonie McCoy. Ebony, welcome, welcome, welcome.
thank you.
Ebony Jade McCoy, my apologies.
No, you're
That's
fine.
a beautiful name.
Thank
I
you.
have granddaughters by my oldest daughter, Michaela Jade or Michaela Jayla, and then Mackenzie Jade or Mackenzie Jade or Jayla. I can't remember their names, but one named Jade, which is such a beautiful
I have
name.
such a weird obsession with J names, so I love it.
Well, listen, honey, I thank you so much for joining us on today. I am going to introduce you as my lovely guest here on today. We having a candid conversation. For those of you who may be catching a replay, listen, I'm so sorry you won't be here. Listen, everyone is tuning in on this morning because here is such a beautiful, beautiful woman. I met this lady. I guess it's been about 2 years now, 3 years. I did an event in the Logan Park, and it's been a pleasure just meeting you, getting that vibe of your spirit and such a lively woman that you are, and the
Thank
many things that you do. But I'm going to introduce you as, yes, Ebonie McCoy, a thriving butterfly who is a child of God, a mother of two loving boys, two young boys. I'm so sorry, y'all. Two loving boys, and who works as an executive assistant in the corporate world. And she just is about her life, y'all. She's about her life. She's living life, and she is here to tell her story. So we welcome you, Ebonie, on this
you.
platform of Sister Circle Social Club. I'm gonna get somebody on here to do this. This is a tongue
It's
twister.
a tongue twister.
Is, but it is such an amazing platform. God is really opening up some doors for us to be able to host these conversations here um, on the platform, socially as well as in person. So I'm grateful, and I hope that this won't be your last time visiting us here on Sister Circle Social Club. So just tell us, who is Ebonie?
Ebony is a ball of joy. It's like, so, I mean, Ebony Jade is a woman of God, like you said, like that is my God first and God only. I am a victor from lupus. I'm a lupus warrior, so I advocate on behalf of that, just kind of sharing my story because lupus is autoimmune disease that is not always visible to the eye. So it is a disease that is very common for Black women. So I just think it's not talked about enough because we can have the illness and be struggling trying to figure out what it is that we have because it took me quite some time to get diagnosed. So I'm just here to advocate on behalf of lupus. It ended up being a blessing, even though it looked like a curse, because it allowed me to birth my business, which is called Thriving Butterfly Solutions. It's a virtual assistant business. So I helped people with graphic design. I had a credit specialist I worked for doing her customer service. I had a towing company doing their billing. So it was just so many things where, I was able to just assist people because that's something that I've had a passion for my entire life. So I'm a helper by default, and it's one of my spiritual gifts. So it's just something that I'm just good at. Like God was able to provide me with this gift, and I just give it out to people. And another gift is my administration. So I'm just able to outpour and allow people to see the gifts that God has given me in a system and whatever need that they may need to get met. So if it's just me, having a regular conversation with someone, I'm able to pour in and provide that encouragement and love into them. Because my goal is just for people to just see God on me because I'm just his vessel. So that's really just my goal in everything that I do. And I also do work for the city of Philadelphia as an executive assistant. And it's just kind of mapping out from being a virtual assistant to now just kind of doing it in person and being able to assist constituents in the field that I'm in. So it's just really a joy, to be honest, because I get to do everything that I love in, my professional setting and in my personal setting. And I am
Isn't that
a
a
it really is a blessing because it doesn't feel hard. Like it's very much, and God will give you peace in the chaos, and that's what He has been doing. So I'm just overly thankful and grateful for where He has had me, where I've come from, and where I'm at now. But yeah, that's pretty much me. And of course, my boys, two loving boys. Jeremiah and Josiah, I told y'all I have the weird obsession with the J names. So they're both J's as well. But yes, I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they literally both saved my life at different timings in my life. So God is just so faithful where He is intentional, and He provided me the source to be able to love on them. So I'm able to guide them, and it's just such a joy to be able to raise two young Black boys going into Black men and being kingdom men at that. So yeah, it's just I'm just here for wherever God is taking me. Like I just feel like I'm on this journey of becoming, and I'm just enjoying the ride.
Yes, well, I'm so grateful that you are on this journey, sis. And my slogan here, listen, I say all the time, walking them shoes is an empowerment, but it is the way, it's a way of life. And in my role and what I do, I meet women where they are on their journey of becoming it. And I'm so glad that I met you. And let me just say a compliment and also to reiterate what you said that you want people to see the God in you. And I see it. I saw it when I first met you.
Thank you.
And, it was at an event that I hosted. And, sometimes we look for greater turnouts. And it
Mhm.
was really a good turnout.
It
It
was
was
a
a good,
good turnout.
but even through it all, I think when we make those connections, sometimes we don't even know where our relationships may lead us.
And when
And
you text me, and I was just like, this automatically has to be for the council member because no way it's for me.
yes,
But
you
it's
said
just
that.
so crazy how, because I was actually just going through my Google photos. I had to delete some stuff. So it was 2021. And I'm like, that's crazy. Just how he just maps it out. I tell you, it's preparation for sure.
I'm gonna cut my volume down. I don't know. Are you speaking on a microphone or is it just from your computer?
It's just from my computer. Is it
Okay, so it
loud?
might be no, it's fine. It's
Okay.
great. It's just that sometimes when you speak, I think it's really because I have an input and output on here where I'm
Okay.
using two external mics, and I think that's probably what it is.
Okay.
So just to really say to you, I commend you for
Thank
being on this journey of becoming because and not only are you a lupus warrior? We as women without any type of diagnosis are warriors, period,
you.
because
Very
we're
true.
so many different things. And in a process of loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves, we're wearing the many hats and we're taking care of so many different people. And as you say, you're taking care of two lovely young boys, which
Yes.
one is tough on Black women as it is because we're trying to rear them up to be God fearing men, strong men, and just being able to be a blessing to you as well as in the community. So you have your hands full with that. But then on top of battling lupus. And as you said, lupus is an autoimmune disease that sometimes people don't even realize that they have it unless there's like
They get the blood work. You gotta
crisis.
get certain blood work done.
Right. Or if it's like a crisis that's going on because lupus is I mean, I don't know how it's generated, where it come from, but I just did a little bit of research on it that being an autoimmune disease that it can be brought on by stress. Like you
Yes.
can have flare-ups, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like your
Yes.
flare-ups, the stress and just, even being sick, getting sick because it's an autoimmune disease where your body fights off the good
Yeah, so it's kind of like your body is attacking itself in a
cells.
sense because it
Right.
for whatever reason it generates that your good cells sometime somehow are not good. So they're trying to help good cells, but it's like you're just attacking your body in itself. So
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes like thankfully I was diagnosed November 2021. I'm sorry, November 2017. I'm getting our dates mixed up. So November 2017 and I actually had complications like well before I had got diagnosed, but I was told I had Lyme disease. I was told I had tuberculosis. I was told all of these other things. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my second son. And a lot of the symptoms relate to how pregnancy works as well. So I was having like inflammation in my foot, but that could just be from the pressure of having an extra person and carrying them around. I was dealing with a lot of fatigue, but that can also happen with being pregnant. So it was just so many things that was clashing. So I didn't find out I was diagnosed with lupus until my son was about 9 months. So I ended up getting so sickly, and I was at the point where I couldn't walk. I had no energy, low fatigue. I lost so much weight, constantly getting fevers, constantly vomiting, and I'm going to the ER. They're telling me I look fine. I'm telling them I'm not fine. So it
I
doesn't matter what I look like. And honestly, I don't think I looked fine because I done lost so much weight. Like you could literally see like the structure in my bones. It was really bad. And constantly going there and seeing predominantly white doctors and nurses, it was very frustrating because I kept trying to tell my story and no one would listen. So finally, it got to the point where it's wintertime because it's October. I have to wear flip flops outside in the cold because I can't even put my feet into my shoes or my sneakers. So thankfully, I was connected with a friend. Her name was Jasmine, and she worked at, I was in Delaware. So she worked at Christiana Hospital. And I actually ended up going with her because I needed someone to take me to the hospital. So I'm like, can you go with me to the hospital? And she ends up taking me and everything like that. And I got a nurse. I wish I could remember this nurse's name because she's just a saving grace. And I got this nurse that finally took the time to look through all of my charts because usually when you go to hospitals in Delaware, they're all connected because they're all Christiana. So I was going to ERs, I was going to urgent cares, like all of this stuff back to back to back. And it would be about 2 weeks apart that I was constantly going back. They'll give me like Tylenol. I remember the first time I went to the ER in Middletown, and I'm telling them like I'm breaking out in hives, I'm going through fevers. I didn't even know my fever was that high when I got in there. They end up checking my fever. It was about 104. I'm just worried about my hives because I'm so itchy. I want to like it feels like I want to scratch my skin off. And you're worried about the fever, which is good, but they come in thinking I have like the flu. They come in with the hymen mask and everything like that. So I walked out of there with just Tylenol. They didn't assist me with my hives. Nothing was done. Like it's so frustrating being a Black woman and trying to go into that setting because if you don't advocate and speak up for yourself, and then I'm going through something where I don't even know.
so
So
that's
I'm asking for
question.
you for help.
Do you feel as though because you're a young Black woman, and a lot of times I hear so often because I work in the healthcare field, I
Yes.
hear so often that women come in and they have these symptoms, and not just like a one appointment type thing. They have these symptoms that last, or maybe
Right.
that's lingering, or just come back, and the doctors will kind of brush them off and say, well, hey, it might be this or it might be that, but they're just treating the particular symptom at that time. As you say,
Right.
they gave you Tylenol, or they gave you something to bring down the fever, but
Yes.
yet what is causing the fever? Are
Right.
y'all doing the lab work? Are y'all doing the proper lab work? Are y'all
That did
sending
not happen.
so even my daughter just made mention about 2 weeks ago. She went to the doctors and she's like, "Mom, I'm telling my doctor that I need this particular test." Now, my daughter is a nurse, but
Right.
even if she wasn't, she know her body.
And that's
Us,
the part.
being young.
They make you feel crazy.
Yes, and I have another guest that's going to come on, Dr. Nia Bailey, and I cannot wait for her to come on and
Aw.
how women, because I do a lot of advocating for women who suffer
Yes.
with breast cancer, but it just amazes me that now, because we have so much technology
Right.
that can quickly discover, find certain things out, that when a woman comes to you either with a lump in her breast or fever, or certain symptoms that are ongoing. So here
Yes.
it was, you having a flare up and didn't even know that you had lupus.
I didn't, and constantly was going through the flares because it was never treated. And I was still operating as normal for the most part. And I was barely eating because I didn't have enough energy to eat. So I call it, I learned it's like a spoon analogy. So it's like five, if you start out with 10 spoons, that's 10 portions of energy throughout my day. And mind you, I still have two children that I'm taking care of. I am living with my mom and my sister at the time, who is providing some assistance. But my mom goes out to work. My sister is going out to work. My youngest stayed with me because I wasn't working at the time. So I couldn't afford for him to be in daycare. So he's staying with me.
Grand
And
Queen. I'm not sure. Excuse me. 1 second, Ebony. I do apologize. For some reason, this girl here has yet to discover uh, how to work with her Facebook users, because we have Facebookers that are joining us as well.
okay,
How
cool.
to actually show your name. So drop your name in the chat if you can. But grand rising to you, Black Queen. Thank you so much for.
Hello.
I'm sorry, Ebony. Go
Oh
ahead.
wait, I want to send the link out. Is it
Yes,
on?
you.
Is it by the walking in shoes?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
please do. Actually, I think I should have mentioned that in the email that I had sent.
No, it's okay.
You're able to share it.
Okay.
Michelle from Jersey. Hey, Michelle, how are you, sis? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Sister Circle Social Show.
Hello. Yes, so
Yes.
it was a lot, and thankfully I had her, so she was able to finally look through my stuff, look through all my records, and she actually listened to me. I was able to tell her from point A to point Z at that point, and tell her the whole overview of what had happened, how I constantly was coming to the emergency room. They're telling me I look fine. Making me leave with no solution to my problems. So it was just a lot, but yeah, so I ended up getting admitted. I stayed in the hospital for about 2 weeks. I saw every doctor, every specialist doctor except the one I needed to see.
At a
So
rheumatologist?
yes. So I saw a neurologist, I saw a pulmonologist, like I saw all of the doctors except for the rheumatologist. And it's crazy because the neurologist told me that I think you need to see a rheumatologist, but no one never came to my room. So I ended up leaving the hospital with still, I mean, I felt better because they were able to give me infusion, which was IV and everything like that, but I didn't have a solution still really. So I ended up going to my primary care doctor, and she was the one that got me connected to my rheumatologist, where I was able to get the blood work and whatnot done. But when I tell you lupus hit me for a loop, like I was really thinking I had cancer, which I was mentally prepared to hear because cancer run on my mom and my father's side. So I was mentally prepared to hear cancer, and long behold, lupus comes out of the clear blue sky. And all I knew about lupus was that Toni Braxton has it, but she didn't talk, like I didn't know about it really. I watched her movie and saw how she was in bed and stuff, but it didn't like go into detail of what lupus was. So literally this was such a learning curve with trial and error. I had to learn so much. And because you can read about lupus, which I'm sure you have, but it may not be that's my lupus. So I have SLE, and it's so many different lupus because you can have medicine induced lupus, SLE, kidney lupus. So it's a lot of different branding, I guess you could say, to lupus. But
So
for the most part, hmm,
when you when you're diagnosed with lupus, so I know that they have the different types of lupus.
yes.
Now, those different types of lupus determine what type of symptoms you have, such as the skin rashes or the
I,
joint
be-
pain.
I believe they're all kind of connected. So
Okay.
it could be certain symptoms are more related to that branding of lupus for the most part. So for me, I suffered from joint pain. Like I do have some skin rashes and stuff that do randomly come up sometimes. And I have to be very particular with the skincare and different things that I use, because I actually went and got my eyebrows done last weekend, and I got the tint and everything, but it irritated me so bad. So I'm like broken out around my forehead and whatnot. But sometimes, honestly, I forget and I'll just be like, oop, I could go out and go get my eyebrows done real quick because I just scheduled it and went the same day. Not even thinking like, Ebonie, you have to ask about what kind of products they use. You have to make sure it's like sensitive to your skin, and they have stuff that's, with what I could use. So I made that mistake. So now I gotta go through the whole portion of this on my forehead, but it's perfectly fine because it's like I'm still learning, sometimes too. But for me,
So
what helped,
I'm
sorry,
sorry to cut you off.
what helped me a lot was changing my diet. So I eat in moderation. I don't really go by vegan or, all of that stuff. It's just everything in moderation. But I know beef was really bad and gave me a lot of inflammation. Whole milk. So now I do everything like plant-based, oat milk, almond milk. But yeah,
So
I
you have
just had to,
diet.
yes, I had to pay attention to those things that was constantly like when I would get so much, if it was anything acidic, it would burn my tongue to the core. So I had to like remove um eating ketchup for a while. And I love me some ketchup, okay? I had to stop eating ketchup for a while, like tomato sauce. So I had to transfer to getting vegan sauces. So things that would be sensitive to my tongue or to my mouth, and realizing what would bother me. And it was just such a trial and error thing. Like sometimes to this day, I'll eat something and it'd be like, ooh, can't eat that again. But I,
So it's almost trial and error, but it really is a life-changing
yes, it
diagnosis.
is. Yes, it is.
So,
And
so for those of you who are watching, ladies, I have to say you have to advocate for yourself, become that
yes,
advocate, and make sure that, just you may be young, you may be older, but whatever the circumstances are, if you find yourself going to and from back and forth to the doctor for the same issue, same situation, speak up, speak up. Like this platform is used to be able to hear other people's story. Thank God that your lupus diagnosis wasn't so debilitating that it didn't allow you to stop, that it prevented you from taking care of your children. You were still able to do so with the assistance and help of your mother and your sisters. And that's God's grace right there. So we thank you for that,
yeah,
because we have this sister circle here on this platform, but it's so important for us to be able to have that outside of this,
yes,
and behind closed doors. So Ebonie, I want to ask, like, I know someone who suffered with lupus, and for a long time, so clearly she must have had this diagnosis for a very long time, but
right.
she didn't find out exactly what it was till probably like 2 years later. But
Mm,
what she it when she went back and she just started going through her history of things and her illnesses, she found that when she was under a great deal of stress with her job and a great deal of stress with taking care of her elderly parents, that it brought on the
the
sickness.
flare-ups.
Yes, the flare ups. And what she told me was that, Dara, you will never be cured from this, but there's a way to manage it. And when she first got diagnosed, she was in the hospital for like a couple of weeks.
Yes,
Affected her joints, and she was so stressed out because she was taking care of her parents. She had siblings, but long story short, she was doing all of the work herself. And
yeah,
she found, and when she discovered what it was, when she found out what it was, she said, from now on, I don't care what's going on in my life, no stress can come near me, no stress can bother me. I cannot allow myself to be taken on by any sort of stress. Did you
yes,
that when you were stressed out, like in relationships, or stressed out with work, or stressed out with anything, that it brought on more?
yes. The easy answer is yes. I didn't initially know, because I did go through the paperwork and everything like that, but finding out you have lupus is like stressful in itself. That's stressful enough. On top of the fact, like I had so many break I just felt like I wasn't enough. I'm just like, because I was such the go getter, I take care of my children. I didn't really depend on other people. I had to learn how to remove my pride and just be able to ask for help because I felt so helpless. Like the stress on top of me already not being able to really operate how I usually operate is stressful. The fact that I'm dealing with, having to take care of my children and barely being able to do that because I have to ask people for help, or I just have to figure it out and be able to navigate. Like my youngest, I personally feel like he didn't get the best end of the stick, but he's still, healthy, was fed and everything like that. But it was just really hard for me because when I had my oldest at that age and his age and everything, we was out. We was going here, we was going there. I was working, I had money. It wasn't such a stagnant thing for me. So when my youngest and we're just sitting in the house, and it's so funny because I just been having such a self reflection moment these past couple weeks. I'm looking at old pictures and videos of him and just seeing him and how he was the king of the show. Okay. He was the one running the show. I was just sitting back, making sure we lived day by day at the end of the day. But it
So
was really
mother,
hard. Yeah, it was really
motherhood
hard.
are tough
Yes.
with
So,
this.
and it was just dealing with, co-parenting and coming out of a relationship that wasn't the best. It was pretty toxic. So it was just a lot to it with me. And I feel like a lot of the stress prior to me even being diagnosed with me being, going through the flare up that I didn't know was a flare up at the time, it was due all to that. So I wasn't working at the time. Actually, I was working at AAA. I ended up having to quit because of my health. And it was just so much at the time and trying to navigate, still dealing with postpartum on top of that, too. Didn't even realize I was dealing with postpartum because my youngest, like I said at the time, was only 9 months when I got diagnosed. So I'm still trying to operate. And it was so bad to the point where I couldn't even open a bottle top. My energy wasn't there. I couldn't carry him. So I'm like on the steps, put him on my lap. We're sliding down, like, going down because it was God is good because when I look back and think about what it could have been and it still wasn't at its worst, like for me, that was bad because that was my worst. But knowing other people that have lupus and that are still going through it and have been diagnosed and may not even be here anymore because of this illness, like God is still faithful over my life and even still in the moments of when I thought it was my worst, like it could have been bad. It could have been way worse. So I'm just thankful that he turned my bad into good because now I'm here. And now I
Yeah.
can advocate. Now I can empower other women. Now I can talk to other women that are just finding out about their diagnosis and helping them understand it's a mental battle. Because if I would have stayed mentally impaired, my body would have stayed shut down. If you are
Mental
mentally
care. Mm.
mentally impaired and spiritually impaired, because of course I question God, like why? Asking all the wrong questions at the time. And now it's like, why not me? Why can't I be the overcomer? Why can't I be the warrior? Instead of me asking, like, why did I get diagnosed with this, God? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And being able to overcome my battle, because I'm still overcoming every day, but being able to overcome at my worst. And now with me today, like, it hits me a little bit more if I'm going through my cycle, of course, because that's when my body decides to go a little haywire because now it's all this stuff going on. But for the most part, like I'm not on medicine. I weaned myself off of the meds because I was
Well, now,
on.
was your doctor's advice, or that was just something you felt that you would do? Okay.
It was me, but I have gone to the doctors and gotten blood work and everything like that, and things have been well. Like I implement a lot of turmeric into my diet, so I have this turmeric milk that I drink on a constant basis, and I'll usually it's really helpful to drink before bedtime because it does help you sleep and everything, but it helps with your inflammation. I'll add ginger, I'll add cinnamon, and I'll add some cane brown sugar to sweeten it up a little bit. But it's a good drink. It gives me the feels of like hot chocolate because I drink it hot.
It
So
sounds like a horrible concoction, but yet those are all
but
of
it is
the
good.
spices,
I've given it to
all of
people.
what I use
Yes,
to
I've given it
in
to
order to build
people
up my system.
and they love it. And I'm like, what do you think? Because I'm like really excited about it. So I'll be like, what you think about it? I just had it given it to my coworker Friday because she wasn't feeling well or whatever. And I'm like, well, do you have some inflammation in your. So I was like, I'm gonna bring you some turmeric milk. And she like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna drink it. And she drank it and fell in love with it, asking me for the recipe. So it's just
Awesome.
little stuff like that you can.
You might need to package that up
I
and
know, and I've been like, he been pressing on me. It's so much going on. I'm just following through on his instructions because when it's time, and I'm gonna be ready. But I'm
Well,
just, yeah, it's just been so good. It's been
I do
good.
have a question for you.
Yes.
As women, we always are going through something, whether we're going through our own battles or we're going through and assisting someone in a battle.
Yes.
What would you find, or what would you suggest to our viewers, to our family, and to our friends, that if you're dealing with an illness such as lupus, if you're dealing with a disease or an illness that will be with you for the rest of your life, what give us one recommendation that you would suggest to the viewers?
Well, I'll give you the recommendation like from the viewpoint of being the warrior and then of the viewpoint for like the family member and whatnot. So for the warrior, I feel like if you are battling any autoimmune disease, do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not allow this illness to break you down to the point where you feel hopeless, you feel helpless, because that is nothing but the enemy trying to come in and disturb where God is trying to call you to be. Because this illness is a circumstance to your life, it is not your whole life. So I just want you to remember that this is just something that is a part of you, it is not you. You are
Mm,
still called to be whoever you are still called to be. So asking for help and knowing that you are not sheltered and you don't have to stay in this bubble. Like I used to be like, I know I have this illness, but it is not all of me. It is a part of me and I'm going to use it in the way that I need to navigate and use it, but I'm not going to sit here and say lupus 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 every time like, oh, it's lupus, it is a part of me, but it is not the full story. And it is so much more to me than just lupus. So I just want everyone to know it is so much more to you than any autoimmune disease, any illness, any cancer. That is a part of your story. And it is something that is going to be able to implement you to the next level if you direct it and navigate it in the correct ways. But it is not all of you. And it is not anything that is able to shelter you or hide your voice or put you into this bubble of discomfort. It is how you navigate it. And as long as you look at it as your good versus your bad, it is going to be able to provide and give you such an outsource that you don't even know.
it
And
gives you,
for
when we talk about the peace that surpasses all understanding, a lot of us do question, why me, God? Why me?
yes,
That is a question I think a lot of us ask when things are coming our
it's a
way.
given. We're human.
Exactly.
We're
Exactly.
human. It's a given. But then it's like, okay, God always allows us to sit in whatever we may be going through, but He don't want us to stay there. It has never been for us to suffer continuously. Even Jesus had his moment where he was like, God, I really got die. Like,
Hmm.
wait a minute. And
Yes.
then he had to bring it, he had to reel it back in and be like, you know what? For your sake. You said it is so, it is so. So I'm going to walk through this path and whatever you telling me to do because I trust you. So
And that's
I'm
what
giving it
we
all
do.
to you.
It's hard, but when we decide that this is what we're going to do, we're going to serve God. We're
That's the
asking
thing.
God to, use us. We're the vessel.
That's the thing. And when you
Same.
release the control, baby, he puts you on platforms like this. Like, I'm telling you, it's just so crazy how everything has been mapping out these past couple of months. Like, he's just faithful. But I also want to give one pointer for the family members because sometimes you're the caretaker. It's frustrating being on that side because you don't know. I had to deal with a lot of frustration with my mom and her not completely understanding like what this is because she would Google or look it up and I'm like, well, mom, that doesn't pertain to me, that's not my lupus. So it was a point where I shut down and I wasn't speaking up and advocating for myself. That's why I say, like, don't be helpless, speak up. So for the family members, I think just ask questions because we
Mhm.
aren't always going to be willing to just share or tell you what it is that's going on because it's something we're still fighting. And if that person is in a space where they are not happy or they haven't come to the full understanding that this is really my life now, it's going to be hard for them to vocally just, speak up and share that information. So if you being my family member or my friend, if you just come and ask me questions, how are you feeling today? Like, don't put me into the bubble of being handicapped. but put me into the bubble of your care and your love. So your advocacy for that will show up more than you thinking like, oh, well, I know she's sick. Let me just check on her just to check on her. No, show your concerns, show that you actually care, and just ask me questions. So I think that would be something that's really helpful for the family member, because you can't help with something you don't know about. You can't help with something you don't know how to navigate through. And if you just share with them, I don't know, but I'm here and I'm willing to help.
And I think sometimes as caregivers, we just have to do that. We just have to be present. We may
Yes.
not need to speak on it, but I'm just here for you.
Yep. And
And I
that
think
that has been some of the things that has been good for me, just being able to be in the presence of my family members or my friends. We don't have to talk about the illness, we don't have to talk about the disease, we don't even have to talk about my symptoms at that time, but just being able to be around you, you still treating me like I'm regular, still old Eb or whatever the case is, and still just loving on me. That gives me such a sense of just relief, because it's like, wow, I'm here. You see me still. And it's not just you seeing the disease or the illness, but you seeing Ebonie.
right. Now I have to switch gears here.
Yes.
And you made mention of a toxic relationship. Let's talk about what is toxicity in a relationship. What is that to you?
Lord.
How have you experienced that? And not
Um,
only
I
how,
dealt with a narcissist. So it was really hard because he was very good at manipulation and very good at making me feel like I was crazy. So it was just, I think when you know in your spirit, in your heart, it does not feel right, you just got to walk away. History should not matter. Kids should not matter, because I
mm,
had to really sit and understand what was making me stay here. So, because I didn't have the best relationship with my father growing up, I didn't get that one on one love from him. So, I'm literally searching for love in all the wrong places because I'm trying to navigate it and what I think love is supposed to be, and it's not even that. And this is when my faith wasn't as strong as it is today. So I'm still trying to navigate looking for love when all I had to do was connect to my father, my heavenly father, and
what?
I would be able to navigate and understand what love truly is, because he provides and supplies every need and want that I could ever think of. So
Say that again, Ed. He does what? What does our
he
Father do?
supplies every need and want for us. And it's just, huh,
Shout out to you, Father.
yes,
Mhm.
big G. Okay. Cause I
Big ring.
just I just can't even think of where I would still be if I didn't find him in that time. And I connected with him a couple different times so I was in a relationship on and off since I was 13 years old. These are both of my children's father. So I was with him for quite some time, and we got to build a friendship. And we were kids and everything. So of course I was playing around, doing the breaking up, going back with him because I knew he was there to stay. So not that that was a good thing, because that was toxic in itself. So, but we're young. I'm not knowing truly what love is, and I'm just mapping things out. So it was a lot, and I didn't know the pain and hurt that caused to him until we got to our older ages, where now I feel like I'm ready to fully commit to this man. And we're about 18, 19 years old, and I say the words of fully committed, and boy, did that put me in a rough spot, because he knew I was there to stay. And I then ended up getting pregnant, which is another thing, that being like, well, you're here to stay now. I got you trapped a little bit. So I had to navigate through all of that because of me not having the best relationship with my father and him not really being present in my life. I was trying to figure it out. And my mom and dad got divorced when I was about 5 or 6, I think. And for me, it was like I didn't see a good, healthy co-parenting relationship. So I never knew what that looked like. I never knew that was even possible. All I knew was I was going to stay with this man until the wheels fell off, because I didn't want a broken household. I
Aren't
didn't
we brothers? You talk about people talk about ride or die. I'm trying to tell
listen.
you that we're in love. That's exactly what we're doing. We riding until those wheels fall off.
Completely
Until
off. We could be riding with 3 wheels and we still riding out until the whole steering wheel is off, okay? Like literally, it has to be completely departed, but for
yeah,
me to stop riding, and that's what had happened. So I was with him for a very long time, on and off, and then we ended up having our second child, and we were trying to make things work, and that was the one where it was just I just had to let it go. I ended up in a love triangle, dealing with other women. He had other children with other women. So I'm trying to be the connector because for me, it was like, okay, we're a big, blended family. For me, I wanted if I ever had to deal with anyone and they had kids with other women or whatever, for me, I just wanted healthy boundaries and a healthy blended family. So that was just always my viewpoint. And I was always trying to do the connecting, but because he was still dibbling and dabbling around, it didn't work out how I would have hoped for it to work out. But I was able to be a bonus mom to some kids that weren't, birthed by me. And that was a blessing in itself. And I love them kids still to this day. Those are my
big,
children's siblings.
big ups to you because a
Thank
lot of
you.
women won't do that. And I can
Yeah,
honestly say that that is what tears families apart. Whereas you were looking to, you know what, I'm going to make this work for my family. A
right.
lot of women can handle that. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think I was one. I don't think I'm one of them. And I
And I
know for sure.
mean, a lot of people say, Ebony, kudos to you because it couldn't have been me. And honestly, I don't know. Like, the strength of God, because I literally don't know when I look back how this man got away with the stuff he got away with. Because it's just like, and people will call women like that when they're in toxic relationships and they're trying to hold on to what their reasoning. Because my reasoning, I really had to sit back like, man, I saw my mom and dad get divorced. I never wanted to deal with a broken household. I never wanted my child to have to worry about having mommy's house, having daddy's house, and being separated and not being able to be in unity with each other. And now today we're here and we're not together. They go to their father's house. They have a home here, they have a home there. And it's just, I just look at it now as an extra blessing, to be completely honest. And if their dad ever gets with someone, they'll have a bonus mom. When I get my husband, because he's coming, they'll have their bonus father and a bonus mentor, and just a bonus kingdom man to show them the ropes. And because I know I can't do everything. I'm
Right.
just the mom. I'm not trying to be mom and I'm not trying to be dad. I'm not trying to be both.
We're, your mom, you're not just a mom, but your mom. And
Yes.
God gives us the strength and the power to deal. Now, yes, we can't be all. We can't, often we do play that role as a mother
Right.
and a father, but in this case, you don't have to play father because your children's father is there. But
Yes.
you're not just a mom because you're a mom who overcame a lot,
Yeah.
and mom that has the strength of God. And growing up, no,
True.
you may not have had your biological father there all the time. You may not have known your spiritual father as you should have, but
Right.
yet still we positioned ourselves to be in this particular issue, in particular situation that allowed you to accept certain things that were unhealthy. But in
Yes.
the midst of it all, you didn't lose it.
Right.
It brought you closer to God, which shows that God has a plan for your life, sis. He has a
I'm
plan for
here
your
for it.
life. And I'm trying to tell you, listen, walking them shoes is not just a statement. It is not just a statement. It really is a way of life. And sometimes, listen, we have to crawl before we can walk. And you were holding on. You is a song, an old, old, old song. And I can't think of the artist that sings it, but is holding on to God's unchanging hand. And sometimes I look back in relationships and don't know how I made it over. Sometimes I look back, but I thank God that I never let go of his hand. I
Yes.
never let go of his hand. And even in the midst of the lust and in the midst of, wanting to be the particular one, wanting this to make this relationship work, even in the midst of not even realizing that these soul ties is going to have a grip on me
Soul
that is
ties.
just unshakable, not realizing any of that, but yet as a woman wanting to make that family work. In the midst of all of that, God is keeping you. He has kept you, and you're here on this platform and being able to amplify your voice to share with other women. And
Yes.
I'm so grateful for you. I really am truly
Thank
grateful.
you. I'm so grateful to be here. And I just know God is just, he's my, he's, uh, I just outpour because he's just so good. And it's just like when I look back and it could have been like, it was to the point where I wanted to, and I'm not a fighter for real. Like if it has to, maybe, but that's not my go-to. Like I really believe in communication and us being adults that we can talk things through. So I was at a point where I was not even recognizing who I was because I was inching for this man to hit me so that we could fight. Like, and that's when I knew I had to completely walk away. And I'm like not even thinking about my children at this point. I'm literally blacked out and just ready to go ham. So I knew at that moment, and God is so intentional when I tell you, my brother came down. So this when me and their father were like not on good terms. We broke up actually when I was pregnant with my second son, but we were still living with each other and everything. So my brother ended up coming down. It's December. So he ended up marrying my sister in love. I love that lady. So he
In
ended up,
love. My
yes,
sister-in-law, sister in love. I know that's
yes,
right.
in love, because ain't no, she ain't an in-law. So um he ended up staying at our house and he's like, I gotta go. It's her birthday, and he's sick as a dog. I'm like, bro, you don't think she's gonna understand? Like, and this all pours into the toxic relationship. So they helped me out of it. So I gotta talk about them. So they're just like, I'm like, you don't think she's not gonna understand? He like, no, you don't know her. I gotta go. So he's sick as a dog, managing his way to make sure he gets to his wife now. At the time, they weren't married yet, but that was his wife. So he's getting to her and everything. So I'm like, she ends up coming over. I met her for the first time. I knew about her because they're actually middle school sweethearts. So I knew about her for a long time, just never met her in person. So finally meet her in person and we connect. We end up hitting it off from the very rip. And then it's now me. This was months later. So her birthday's in December. Our birthdays are actually like 5 days apart. So her birthday's in December. I end up meeting her then. Then we're now in June, January, February, March, April, May. June. Yeah, so we're in May, June, about to be June or whatever. So all this is now going on between me and her dad, and we're about to fight. Like I'm just ready to go in. So he starts calling people like, oh,
Pregnant though, right? Are you pregnant at this
no,
time?
no, this is the baby. I had
Oh,
him
okay.
in February, so he's about 4 months. So, yep,
Okay.
fresh newborn. So, yeah, I had the baby at this point, and so yes, he is calling people like, "How can I win Ed back? I'm trying to make this work." Da 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 da. So she overhears. She's like, Ebony, this reminds me of my ex-husband and just his ways and the way he's being manipulating and narcissistic. And I literally see you in me right now. Like I see myself in you. So she's like, do you want to come down to Virginia? Da 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 da. I'll get y'all mega bus. I hopped on that mega bus with that car seat with my 5-year-old. We rode from Philadelphia to Virginia on the mega bus because she got me that ticket. And when I tell you I stepped off of that bus and felt like I breathed for the first time in
Wow. You
months,
chill, girl. Mm.
like I just felt the presence of God in that moment, and I wasn't even as connected to him just yet. So it was just
That's
a
what you
overwhelming.
get stepping off of that bus, that mega bus into your new beginning.
It literally was the start. So I only stayed out there for a couple days. It was just like me to get my thoughts and everything together, but I went to church. They were connected to this pastor, and when I tell you he poured into my life and spoke right to me in the season and met me right where I was at, I said, "Wow." So I'm coming back heavy on God and just ready to start going in. So I actually had an interview. I had a job position. I canceled it all and just moved to Virginia. I
Oh,
canceled everything. I didn't feel like I could stay in Philadelphia. I felt like I was suffocating in Philadelphia. I was dealing with postpartum. I didn't know at the time, but I was so depressed. I was so depressed. I was doing what I needed to do as a mom and but I wasn't, nothing was bringing me joy at that moment because I
you
was still dealing
don't
with the
day, just through life, just going through, not even
I was on
realizing.
pilot. I was just on pilot and just going, because I literally barely remember half of the stuff from like my son being young until we got to Virginia. So I ended up moving in June because my oldest ended up graduating from preschool. So we left that weekend. He graduated, and I packed up the car with what I could pack up with. I sold like my couches, the beds, and everything. I sold
Did you
majority of that.
did your children's father know that you were leaving?
Yes. So I actually, when I came back from Virginia, when I just stayed for the couple of days, I told him, I said, I think we might be moving to Virginia. So I came back from Virginia, and he was trying to go down to City Hall and like get married. And I'm like, no, if I marry you right now as you are, I'm accepting you for who you are. And I don't accept it. I
Amen.
don't feel like this is me. Like I would have been settling for the man that he was at that time. And he had proved or had shown me nothing for me to be like, yes, let's go and do this. Because everything up into that nature, we were barely talking. We weren't on really good terms. We were doing what we needed to do, talking on behalf if we had to talk about the children. He would check in on us and everything, but it was not healthy. It was just us going through the works of what we had to do for the children, basically. Like, you know how people just be like, well, we staying together for the children. That's really what it was, literally. And I wasn't working at the time. I didn't work throughout my pregnancy or anything because of how bad my health had got. And I had ended up losing my job due to my health.
Do you
So
think that played a factor on your illness?
I do. And thankfully it was a blessing in disguise. Like I had to deal with other stressors because, he's like, "Oh, you're not working, the house should be clean," and did all this stuff, and he wasn't fully understanding of how pregnancy worked and fully understanding because he like, "I'm the breadwinner, I'm paying the bills, so you need to just get this stuff done." And it just didn't work. The dynamics of what we were trying to do, being the stay-at-home mom and everything, like it just didn't work for me. So yeah, we ended up finding out it didn't work for us. And I was going to go back to work and everything, but then I ended up moving to Virginia, and that was just such a saving grace. How people say they go on sabbaticals? Like I feel like that was my sabbatical, because I could not, let me tell you, out in Virginia I could not find a job, and I have a good resume. I couldn't find a job. I had to humble myself to work at McDonald's. And I do not even be sharing this part, but it's just God and how he operates and the way he wants you to move, because obedience is better than sacrifice. Any
Oh,
given
yes,
any
yes, it
given
is.
day. So
Yes.
I had to be obedient enough to apply for that McDonald's job because it was in walking distance to the house where we were staying at. So it was in walking distance to the house. So if I couldn't get a ride or whatever the case was, I could take my butt to work. I was still able to provide for my children and make it there.
So you took a leap of faith, not only moved
Literally,
out of the state, yes, you took a leap of faith,
because I
and
had no job.
you humbled yourself to work a job that you knew you were more qualified to be able to be positioned elsewhere as
And
an
they
executive.
told me, they
Yeah,
said, you got applying for McDonald's, the pay, you are overqualified. I said, yes, but I need this job, and I will work, and I will be a hard worker at this job. I worked right at that cashier, right in drive through. Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order? Okay. With
you see,
grace.
you know what you show God, and this is why God does the things that He do and all of the blessings that flow to you, because you took a leap of faith. Because you could have chose to stay in that relationship that you know it was tearing you down. And yes,
Literally.
sometimes we do stay in relationships for the sake of the children, but yet if we're torn down, what good are we to our children?
Right.
We're no longer being we're not healthy mentally, and then
Right.
actually it comes physically at some point in time, and
And
we're
to
no
be
good to them.
And to be fully transparent, like another reason I stayed in that relationship was I got a STD, and it was not a curable one. So that was also another reason. And it's like, I have a kid, I have this STD. Who is going to want, like, I didn't feel worthy of love. And I just felt like at that time, that was my best. So that was the only thing I was capable of getting. I'm like, okay, I'm already here. why would I go out and have to explain this? And then it was embarrassing to me. Not that I got it because I'm outside or I'm being, promiscuous or anything. Like, this was the man that I was in love with. I was only dealing with him. So for me, it was like, how do I explain this and not sound crazy to another man that I may, see a relationship with eventually and have to explain all of this to?
And the negative self-talk, and because that was what you received, you felt like that was all that you were good for, like only being able
Literally.
to be with this particular man because no one else will want you because of what you received from him.
And
and
it's
and
embarrassing to have to share that. And now I own everything. It's nothing that somebody is going to be able to come and tell me that I already haven't shared with somebody myself. You are not going to be able to have one up against me at any given moment or time, because this is still a story, and this story is going to help somebody. It may not
it's
be for you, or it may not
different.
be your taste, but my story is here to help somebody, and God gives us the testimonies where we are able to share, and it just can be so good for somebody. So I'm just, and that
Oh,
took, it takes courage, but God gives me the strength to be able to walk and to be able to just share and be open like this. Like, this ain't in my strength, because I would hide behind a rock, and this
this
is too much.
yes.
This is even too much for me, because I'm so good at playing the background. Like I said, I chose virtual assisting because it was me just being on the back end of things. And now I ended up becoming an executive assistant and working and having to be around people and talk to people because I'm handling this person's life basically. So I have to be able to just be out there and put myself out there. And it's just like, it's so uncomfortable. And that's how I know I'm operating and where I'm supposed to be moving to, because it's uncomfortable.
Yes. And often we say you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but in the midst of you being uncomfortable, says God got you. He's carrying you
Yes, he
the whole
does.
way through. And when you say yes, God, and you decide that I'm going to share my story so that it can bless others, sometimes I'm gonna tell you this, and being interviewed and being featured in different places, sometimes I may go with intentions on, well, you know what, I'm only going to share this, I'm only going to say this, that, or the other.
Listen,
And
he
sometimes the
takes
way the
over.
spirit moves, yes,
He
yes.
takes
And when
over.
you see the many lives and blessings that you change, I'm trying to tell you, baby, you are a vessel, and a beautiful vessel at that.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so glad that you didn't allow that relationship, because I'm gonna tell you this, we often say, I want to be successful in this, I want to be successful in that, but I can't say just men, but women too are
Yes.
narcissists. But the role of a narcissist, they become so successful that, honey, they
I
can
used
have
to
you
question.
thinking.
He ended up after, we had broke up and everything like that. This is when I came back from Virginia. So I only stayed in Virginia. That's why I called it a sabbatical. I only stayed in Virginia for 3 months, because then I ended up moving back home with my mom. And that's when everything with Lupus had started. He ended up saying he was about to get engaged. His business is being successful. He has his own business. So I'm over here like, it's no way. But we got to remember, the enemy knows, and he can, just as much as God does his blessings, he could give out them blessings too and make it seem like it's the best thing in the world, and it ain't. So I'm just thankful that I removed the comparisons, because I was like, well, God, I'm over here like following through, doing what I believe you're telling me I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have a man in sight. I don't have a job in sight. I'm over here dealing with this illness. What is going on? And again, asking the wrong questions. And it's like, it's not your time, daughter. It's just not your time. And I
What
think you
questions
just have
do
to,
you feel like you should have been, now in hindsight, now looking back, what questions do you feel like you should have asked?
I should have asked God, how can I navigate this? Or I should have asked, like dealing with the relationship part, how can I function and become better in in the places and spaces to become a wife? Because I wasn't ready to be no wife at that time. If I had a man, I would have fumbled the ball so badly. He knew I would have fumbled that. And it could have been, that could have been my husband, but God, it just wasn't the timing, because I had so many things to work on for myself. Even like now, I feel like I have been in preparation to become someone's wife. But it took time to get here. Even with encounters where I was just recently dating, I'm navigating and finding stuff out that I'm like, ooh, I didn't know this would be a thing.
It
But
takes time and it takes work.
yes, and you have to be able to hold yourself accountable to identify what you need to identify. Because I realize I am a control freak. I'm learning to release control, but I like to know who, what, when, where, and why. Like, how we gonna do it, when we gonna do it, where we gonna do it, all the things. But God is telling me, like, you can't. Only I have the control, and you have to be able to trust me enough to know that I got you and you're going to be well.
Well, sis, I'm so glad that you decided to say yes. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you decided to trust him.
Ah,
And I'm so glad that you decided to be a part of Sister Circle Social Club
thank you
because
for having me. I love it here.
amaze women and not just amaze them, but also bless them on their journey of becoming. And
Yes,
yes, we look at each other and say, oh, you're doing fine things, you're doing great things, this, that, and the other. But maybe we still have, in the eyesight of the Lord, we still have not arrived yet. But on our journey of becoming, there's no sister that's going to be left behind because we are teaching, we are sharing, we are moving, we're motivating and
yes.
inspiring women to blaze the trail to success. So I'm featuring Miss Ebonie Jade McCoy. Yes, our warrior, our lupus warrior. And I just commend you on the things that you're doing. I commend you for not backing down, not being shy, but really taking control of your life. Because sometimes in relationships, we love someone so hard and so much that we're willing to give them the will to drive our lives.
And that's
You
what
know,
it is.
took back the will, sis. You took back that will, and I'm telling you, hold on for dear life because that will, God is guiding you. Let Him drive the vehicle. Let Him, you're the vehicle, but
Listen, I'm the
let Him,
passenger. I am the passenger.
right. But the vehicle belongs to God, right? But
Yes.
hold hold on to dear life, and He will stir you the right way. Always say that it is not so much about the destination. It is all about the journey. And on
Correct.
this journey of becoming, we're seeing things, we're learning things, we're meeting people. So just stay focused, continue to stay focused on what you're doing, what God word is instructing you to do, boo, and you will be fine.
Yes.
I
Thank you.
want to, share with our viewers and just let them know a way to connect with you. Would you like for them to follow you on Instagram or go to
Yes.
the
So
site? Like,
my Instagram handle is Ebonie Ebonie period Jade Jade 18. So you could follow me there. I have some stuff in the works that's coming up, and starting another business venture. So please just look out for that, and that'll be coming up. But yeah, you could follow me there. Once you go to my page, you'll be able to see my Thriving Butterfly page. And, if you just want to hop in the DMs to say, hey, girl, hey, I'm here for that too. But yes, I'm always open and willing to talk to people. I'm such a conversationalist. My sister be like, girl, you could talk. So I'm here for it. So yeah,
grateful that you decided to talk with us on this morning.
yes,
And
I love pouring into women. So I'm here for it.
well, we're grateful. We're so grateful. And listen, if there's anything that DAR or Walking Them Shoes platform can do for you in the lupus community, I see you as whole. I see you as whole and healed. And being able to be that vessel to share and advocate on a many lives of many women. And I know that I think I read somewhere that lupus affects like 90% of wait. It affects out of the women and men, 90% of them are women.
Yes.
And so walking them shoes empower women. So in whatever way that we can help to either motivate, to empower, we may have to just bring you in. We do the breast cancer and domestic violence awareness walk in October every year. This is our
Mm-hmm.
third year coming up. We may have to have that table set up for the
Yeah,
lupus
the
because
lupus, they do their walk too in October. Yep.
are you serious?
Yep. And actually, Lupus Awareness Month is May. So
Is
yes.
okay, so it's May, but they do their walk in October?
Hold on, let me make sure I'm saying the right thing. I believe I have to double check. because I haven't done a walk just yet, but I do plan to do one this year. So I have to double check on it, but I do know Lupus Awareness Month is May. So Lupus Awareness like Day is, I believe, May 10th.
Okay.
But
All
yep.
right. That's on or around the Mother's Day time. But I'll definitely keep my eye open, and we'll probably be coming up with something to be able to support the community of women who suffer with lupus. So, Miss Ebonie Jade McCoy, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us here on the platform.
Thank
It's
you for
Sister
having me.
Listen, this show is going to reach millions. I'm speaking it
Yeah,
in existence. It is going to touch the
I'm here
lives of.
for it.
So
I'm
I'm
here
so
for it.
grateful for you and sharing your story. We feature you and we honor you on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to pour into you because you forgot to even give you this thought, and you just create and blow it up, because even from when we met in 2021 and just seeing your tenacity in that, and it wasn't that many people that showed up, but you still was just encouraging and motivating people, and it just is a blessing to see you from then to now, and just connecting with so many women like-minded, and just being able to outpour and provide a source to other women that may not be able to, like, it's women that I know I may connect with now that I may have never been able to connect with due to this platform. So I just thank you.
Oh, yes. Well, I thank you. Thank you for that encouragement and acknowledgement, you know, and the many things that I am doing and trying to do. And I'm praying that it reached the lives of so many women. And now I'm actually ready to get a little choked up because
Oh,
I know some things that's coming down the pike. And it's like, one of my coaches say, "Hey, don't put all it out. Don't put it all out just yet. Don't put it all out." But just knowing that some of the things that God has planned for this platform, I'm just really
I love
grateful. So I'll
it.
shut up before I start
I love
crying.
it. And I'm just here. I'm going to continue to pray over this platform and pray over you because this is amazing.
Thank you. We love you here on today. You know, in any way, again, any way that I can assist and help, you know, we'll stay connected as always and continue to be the blessing that you are. And listen, I am also doing some things. And I know your boys are younger, but
Yep.
you know, with me serving the women, I actually did a little campaign, bullets over basketball. No, wait, basketball over bullets.
Okay.
Um, and I'm actually working on this and did a couple of videos with a few people. Quite a few men have jumped on board and is willing to assist. You know, like with our POW centers and boys and girls clubs and
Okay.
just things. So I'll definitely keep you abreast of
Yes,
what's going on
please.
for your young boys because
Yes,
we need them safe and we need them sound.
that's the thing. Yes,
So
please do.
I sure will. I certainly will. So thank you so much for joining us here on today, and we will
Thank you
talk
for
soon.
having me. All right.
Right
Have
now.
a good one.
Thank you as well.